The possibility of flipping the coin one time and getting heads is easier than flipping it 10 times and getting heads 10 times. So the more people you put there that have to be on board with corruption, the less likely corruption occurs. What measures do you have to remove them if they then become corrupt? They're selected by over 100 million people who vote in our election. And I think that that puts the most steps between power and corruption that makes it the least likely. When it comes to doing corruption, it's easier to do it if there's less steps in the chain to get to the corruption. Like, for instance, you would agree it's a lot easier for one person to do something corrupt if like all they have to do is decide to themselves, I want to do the corruption. That's pretty easy, right? That's pretty easy comparatively to then now let's say rather than one person having to decide among themselves, well, he has to decide among 10 people, right? Well, now let's say he has to decide among 50 people, right? So that is how our government is set up. Now is to do corruption, it's not just one person at the top, it's spread out from the president, the House, and the Senate, which is like, I think around 300 people. But then even then it's spread out more through democracy where those people aren't even selected by one person, but they're selected by over 100 million people who vote in our election. And I think that that puts the most steps between power and corruption that makes it the least likely. But I am interested, I guess, to hear what your alternative would be.
First, I'm gonna say something about that. The amount of people in the entire government who are in power or in government positions or that stuff actually can also be beneficial for corruption. Now, why that would be? If you have like one leader at the top or a group of leaders at the top, sure, they can do a lot of stuff very easily, very quickly without needing permission. But if they actually fuck up or if people realize, then it's very easy to blame like one person or a group of people. If you have an entire government where it's everything based on like this person responds to that one, this one has that job, this one listens to these people. If someone actually does corruption, or if even it's a group, which is worse, then it's a lot harder to try to uncover that corruption in that case, because you have to say, okay, who did this, who approved this, who did this document, this goes back to the department of that guy, that other guy said that, and no, it wasn't actually him because he was just, you get me?
Right, because for me, the way I say it is it's like a coin flip, right? You flip a coin and every time you get heads, that's corruption. It's so much easier. The possibility of flipping the coin one time and getting heads is easier than flipping it 10 times and getting heads 10 times. So the more people you put there that have to be on board with corruption, the less likely corruption occurs.
Well, I was very strong in favor of democracy most of my life, but recently I have been, and I mean this seriously, I have been actually listening a little bit and considering a little bit of stuff on monarchy, you know?
Okay. So, like a king.
But I don't mean like a British monarchy. I mean a monarchy with actual power.
So it'd be like a king and a queen?
Yes. Originally, I was like in favor of like technocracy or meritocracy, but then I realized actually trying to put people in power who have those correct abilities would still require people to evaluate who is actually the most capable one, and that would still be based eventually on voting, and that would still cause corruption. So I kind of left that one.
Sure. So how are the king and king chosen?
Well, it would not really be chosen, because if you have a government like the United States, something like a monarchy, would be completely unconstitutional. So the only way something like a monarchy would form would be after a major collapse or a major war where someone is already a popular leader and then takes that form of government for a new government, you know?
Sure. And I mean, I think this is a critique in and of itself of monarchy, which is like, how do we get there without war and people dying? I don't think that's possible. But I'm willing. What were you saying? Go ahead.
You don't get, but,
yeah.
You also don't get to things like communism without it. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I guess there's just my questions. My critiques of monarchy would first be, how is the king and queen chosen? And then my second one would be, what measures do you have to remove them if they then become corrupt? Because the way they used to do it was regicide, which is they would brutally kill the king, and then the person who like killed them would often instill themselves into power.
Yeah, sometimes. Otherwise, other times the military or other groups just force them out. But yeah, sometimes they kill them.
So I just think that in itself opens the door to a world of like problems that aren't associated with democracy, right? Like you'll have people, especially in today's day and age, like where we have people getting shot for political beliefs all the time. And it's not like back when they had kings.
It's not what happens. No.
Yeah. And back when they had kings, like you got to think snipers weren't a thing, machine guns weren't a thing. Like it's so much easier to like do this, unfortunately, of course. But so it's like, if we had a king and it doesn't even have to be that they're actually even corrupt, let's just say like they make abortion legal and somebody who's mad and wants it illegal shoots them. Like it's just, I don't know. I just think it creates a...
Yeah, that's I guess a point, but you also have to consider how likely that would actually be. Like if you actually have a monarchy, you have to start from the assumption that most people at least basic still support it on basis, you know? And the monarch getting corrupt, of course, that can be a case, but it's not necessarily. And also someone who has power of the government
but how do you,
in theory their entire life or for most of their life.
How do you correct that?
Sometimes can be more responsible in the government, because if someone is chosen for like 4 years, they oftentimes don't care what happens after because they're leaving anyway, you know?
If the monarch gets corrupted though, how do you correct that?
You have to have some kind of system where the military can take over, I guess.
That, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to press you too hard because you said you're new, you're just getting into it. But yeah, it sounds insane to me. I am glad though. I thought you were gonna say
someday I'm gonna write something about this. I'm gonna get back prepared. But right now, I know.
yeah, no worries. I thought you were gonna go with a theocracy, which I would have. I'd have had a lot more.
Where would I go with a theocracy?
Yeah, no, I thought that was what when you said you had another option for democracy, and I would have had a lot more problems with a theocracy than a monarchy. So.